Hi, I'm Aiman. Welcome back to my videos. In this video I'm going to show you how to install this EMCO or Andersen storm and screen door from start to finish, including installing the doorknob, the screen and the glass panes, the closing mechanism, and the mounting. So without further ado, let's get started. Right here we have a 32-inch. So this right here is a 32-inch by 78-inch wide door. This is actually a custom order. This actually took us a month to arrive from Home Depot because the typical size for doors is actually 36 inches by 80. And for our house, it's an older house, so that's why it has a smaller door frame, which is why we had to get it custom made. Now then, we're going to try to rush through this because, as you can see, it might be raining. But we're going to try doing this as sort of a procedure. We're going to follow the steps, and along the way, we'll give you ideas on how to do things. Alright, so before we get started, I just want to say, I apologize for all the mess around me. Now, for some reason I noticed that a lot of people in the comments tend to notice the mess in the video that is around the actual thing that I'm doing, instead of actually focusing on the thing that I'm doing. And I know that when professionals do things, it's often in a squeaky clean environment. But this is a living home. Most people's homes are probably going to be as dirty as ours are. Not to say that ours is dirty, it's a living home. What can you expect? Let's get to it. The first thing you do is that when you open the box, you're going to see that it comes with the glass panes and the screen already inside the door. So the first thing you want to do is want to take out the screen and the panes. In order to do that, first you're going to notice that these are actually retractable. You want to lift this up, and then you want to angle it so that you take out the pane. So just for your reference, you have to make sure that you lift it up at an angle because this is flat. If you put it completely face up, it's not going to be able to fit out of the frame. So we're going to put this against the wall. Oh, paper. And then move on to the next one. Same procedure here. See if that was like a 2-second motion. Pretty easy. This one's a bit harder. Now, in order to take this one out, this frame is a bit flexible, so you're actually able to move it so that you're able to finagle it out. So there's 4 points of attaching it to the frame. It's on each of the corners, and in this side we have these retractable pins. And in order to take this out, we're going to need to get both of these out. But in order for this screen to actually be finagled out, we need to bend it. When you want to bend it, you want to pull up in the middle of the frame while you pull on this side, one pin. You can see that when we pull up, we're able to finagle it out of the frame. And then we want to do the same thing on the other side. Now as you can see, it's able to come out. Now what we want to do is we want to face it completely facing upwards. And then you can angle it. And now it's out. Now, let's get to the actual door installation. Alright, so when you open the box, it's probably not going to look like the box that we have right now. And that's actually because in the process of installing it, we decided we might as well make a video on it. Now, of course, the procedure for opening a box is the same for any product. You want to make sure that everything is in there. You want to make sure you check the parts list to make sure that you have all the railings. And if you, of course, make sure you have the door and all the parts. And now what you want to do, the first step to installing a door is making sure that's the right door. So we're going to take this door and we're actually going to lift it into our door frame to see if it fits. Easy does it. There we go. Alright, so as you can see, it's actually a pretty nice fit. Now, it might seem like around the edges, there's a bit of space, but that's actually because the rest of the railings are going to compensate for that. So now, oh hey Bella. Hey Bella. Okay, so now that we know that the door actually fits in our frame, let's get to installing the railings. Sorry Bella. So after making sure that the door fits, you also want to make sure that the railings fit. Now, of course, the first step is to actually take off your old railings first, which is we have it right here. And I think we've actually done a video on how to take the railings off. So go check that out. And we actually did that video like a few years ago, which gives you a sense of how long it took my dad to actually install the door. But in my dad's defense, we did have a lot of other priorities, like for example, chickens. And would you want to work on a door or would you want to work on a chicken coop? I'll let you be the decider of that. But as for the railings, in order to fit them, you want to take each railing. This one is on the right side. But actually, I should mention that it's actually interchangeable. This could be either a left or a right door, which means that if it's a left door, that means it opens from the left. If it's a right door, it opens from the right. And these railings are actually interchangeable. But for our sake, we have a left-sided door, and most doors are left-sided. And we're going to try to put it up against our frame to see if it fits. Now, if you're getting a bit confused about orientation, typically the door is going to be on the inside where it's rubbing up against this brush right here. And it's the same thing on this and on the top one, which we'll see later. But as you can see, we have it oriented correctly. And you can see that if I try to jimmy it around, then it's not moving that much, which means that it fits perfectly into our frame. You also want to do this. Also, I should mention that there might be a gap in between where you put the frame, where it rests, and where the actual door frame is. And for that, they actually give you something called a door shimmy, which closes that gap. And on the top of it, there is tape so that it sticks onto the wall. I should mention that the shimmy doesn't come with tape on it. You actually have to take tape that's packaged in the box and put it on the shimmy. Now then, we're going to test the right side. It's probably going to fit if this side can fit. And as you see, we're going to make sure that this is facing the side that the door would enter. And it also fits pretty well. And finally, what we want to do is we want to check the top side. Now, our top bar is right here. And like I said, we're going to make sure that the door is facing the brush, which means that this is on the bottom. And as you can see, it fits almost snug in there. So that means that we have the right railings for the job. So now we're going to attempt to install the door. Now, we have to be really careful with this because we're going to be drilling holes in the door. And you want to be really careful with this because the door costs $200. In our case, it costs $300 because it was custom made, which means we have to be very careful. And the first thing you want to do is you want to mark the top of each part. You want to mark the top of the hinge railing, and you want to mark the top side of the door frame. You also want to make sure that you know which one is the inside and the outside. The outside of the door has the pattern on the front of it, which has this groove. So when you know that this face that's facing us is the inside. The easiest way, the most foolproof way to check this is to have two people. One of them is going to hold the door up to the hinge railing, and while they're holding it up, have another person come up with a Sharpie and mark the top and the bottom. And we actually have top marked on the hinge and also on the frame as well, but it's not facing us right now. So we're actually going to talk about the step that led us to the most confusion while installing this, and actually is the reason that we made this video. I also want to mention it's sunny right now, which is very fortunate because we thought it was going to rain. But talking about the step, it is 3B. Position the hinge rail along the hinge side edge of the door frame so the bottom hole of the second hinge up from the bottom lines up with the bottom hole from the screw removed in step 3A. The screw that they're talking about is when you first get the door, it comes with some screws already, it comes with some screws already installed. That's not the right side. I'll show you guys later. But screws are already installed, and you want to use that as a reference point. But still, the wording of the instructions is very confusing, which is why we decided to make this video, because it doesn't seem very intuitive. Alright, so before we go forward, I apologize for the ice cream music in the background. Hopefully you can hear my voice, my sweet buttery voice over the ice cream music. So now we want to take our edge railing, or hinge railing, and then we want to align it with the door. We want to make sure it's the right side first of all. We know that this is the inside face of the door, and we also know that it's a left side facing door, which means that this should go on this side. As you can see, we've also marked where the top side is on both of these parts. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to locate those two screws. So this is the screw I was talking about. It's this one that's marked with an arrow, and there's also one on this side. And what we want to do is we want to take out this screw, and then when we screw something else in it, we want to line it up with the bottom hole. You want to orient this standing straight up. You want to orient it with the bottom hole of the second hinge from the bottom. So this is the first hinge from the bottom. This is the second. So we want to orient that screw that's on the side of this door with the bottom hole of the second hinge from the bottom of the edge. Alright, so now I'm going to take out these screws from both sides of this door. Now, they say that after this you want to take screws from a pink bag. And we were looking for a while for this pink bag, and it turns out it's actually this one. And if you take a good look at that bag, because I'm pretty sure that's red. Now, you know, I'm colorblind, which might affect my accuracy, but I'm pretty sure that is red. And it's kind of nitpicky because pink is a shade of red, but you know. Now we want to take unpainted screws from the inside of the pink bag, and we're going to take these two. Okay, so now let's align the edge railing with the inside of this door. So I've marked out where the two holes that we need to focus on are. This hole right here and this one right here. You want to make sure that, of course, this brush is facing the inside of the door. It's going to make contact with it. So now we can flip this over. We want to take the hinge, and then we want to line it up. Now we take our screw and then we put it in. I'm going to do this by hand first, and then I'm going to confirm it with a drill. I mean a driver. Okay. This probably definitely requires the use of wait, is this on? Oh, it's on 3. So make sure it's on the weakest setting first, so you don't break it. You probably want to do this with a screw or a screwdriver or a regular driver, because you actually have to drive in the screws. So doing it by hand might not be enough strength, especially for me. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to actually drill the holes. Now you are also gonna notice that the edge railing actually sticks out a bit on both sides of the door, on the bottom and on the top side. You can't see the top side right now, but it sticks out. And it actually is supposed to stick out. They say it's supposed to be a 3/16 inch wide gap between the bottom of the edge and the bottom of the door. But anyway, we're gonna keep continuing on with actually drilling the holes. Alright, so now we're gonna drill the holes in the door. Of course, this is the last step. You want to make sure that you have everything right, because this is the point of no return. If you drill the wrong holes, you waste $200. But anyway, they actually give you a drill bit. They don't give you a drill, they give you a drill bit. So now we're going to use it to drill out this hole right here. You don't want to go too deep. We're just doing it to only so it penetrates the metal right here. Because we're drilling through metal, you want to make sure you have some adequate eye protection, so because some metal shards might hit you. So now, so as you can see, I've penetrated the metal, and after this, we're going to continue drilling the rest of the holes, which we've actually already done. And then we're going to put the screws in. All right, so now we're going to fasten the edge railings to the door frame, or to the door, I mean. So actually, it looks like we only have 6 screws. I think we dropped a few of them. But the first thing we're going to do is we're not going to tighten them fully yet, because we want to make sure that the other screws still have a bit of room to breathe. And I should have known, because if you look up at the sky right now, we live in New England, so it's back to rainy days. And in New England, the weather is pretty notorious for being very temperamental. They always switch their moods. So I guess we're going to hope that it's not going to be raining today. Okay. We'll be back when I finish tightening all of these. And actually, while reading the instructions, it looks like it turned back to sunny skies. Alright, so from the bottom, we're going to be looking at the bottom of the door. We actually are able to remove this part that comes on the bottom of the door. We're going to keep it on, and this is actually where we're going to put the sweep fin. And the sweep fin is basically when you open the door, there's a little rubber at the bottom that sweeps the ground as you open it. But because it looks like this step can come at pretty much any time in the installation process, we're gonna skip it. In this process, what you normally do is you drill pilot holes at both of the bottoms of these slots, and then you would screw screws into these holes. And we're gonna skip that step. Let me move that off the styrofoam, it's very annoying. And we're going to take these orange plastic tools, and what we're gonna do is take a look at this diagram here. We wanna make sure that we have the right orientation of the door, and we know where the latch side is. The latch side is where you open the door. It's the knob, or it's the thing that you pull. And if this is the hinge, that means that the latch is on the opposite side. It's on this side. So you want to take this L-shaped plastic tool, and you want to put it under that side slot, just like this. You want to take a look at this, or actually, it's not the right way. Make sure that you line up this cutout with the slot. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to lay this flat, and then you want to take the other plastic tool, and then just like this, you want to install it on the side of the door. And as they say, the clip should be approximately half a foot from the bottom of the frame. So this is going to be a bit of a problem. And there we go. So is that 6 feet? That's like 2 feet. Maybe just a bit more. There we go. So now let's move on to the next step.
Is properly seated in the opening when the hinge rail and latch side spacer clip are flush against the mounting surface. So this has to be on the bottom. And okay, that's piece M. If the latch side spacer is not completely filled, review step. Okay. Now we're going to fasten the hinge rail to the mounting surface. That's pretty self-explanatory. Then we're going to open it, and then we're going to then we're going to fasten. Wait.
Alright, so now we're going to move on to the next step, which when I first read it, it was very confusing to me. And it adds to the reason of why we're doing this video, because some things might not be as easy to understand the first read through. And my confusion with this is that you have to screw something in twice. Now I was wondering, it looks like you're screwing the same thing in here, in both of these pictures. But if you read closely, this one you have it fastening the door to the hinge rail. You have the hinge rail being fastened to the mounting surface. This one has it mounted to the door jamb. Now, what are those two terms? Well, if you look on the actual hinge, you can see that there's actually two holes. There's one here, and there's one on the inside. Now, when you look at the actual door, hey Hizami, actually, here's my brother Hizami. He goes to MIT. He's more of a software guy, but and me and my dad are more of the engineers, hardware engineers in our family. And you know, even though Hizami's more focused on computers, you also want to make sure that he has some like experience in the physical and the mechanical side of things. And that's why he's going to help us install the door. And if you look on the inside of the door frame, you can see that we want to drill holes on the inside of the door frame perpendicular to the door, but we also want to do we also want to drill holes on the side that is flush with the door. So what this means is basically the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put this one on first. We're going to drill holes on this one first, and then we're going to open the door, and then we're going to put holes through here, and then we're going to fasten them. So now Hizami's going to help me lift this up and secure it into the door frame. Actually, Hizami, you don't have to help me lift it up, but you do have to help me keep it up. Okay? You want to make sure that it's all in the right place. Make sure that this side is in the right orientation. Wait, hold on. Thank you for the help, Hizami. Actually, maybe it is good to help Hizami to help me. So you want to make sure that it's rotated. You're going to rotate it this way. Wait, make it diagonal. A bit more. Okay, we're going to go this way. Okay, there we go. So this hinge has to go on here. So we're going to put it into the door frame. Got it? Yeah, if you didn't know, Hizami's like really strong. The strongest person I've ever seen. So now what we're gonna do is, oh, it looks like, oh jeez. Hold on, technical difficulties. Hizami, can you prop this up? Okay. I'm going to put this back on. This is why they have the they ask you to install the screw first, so this stays on. But it's all right. This one is to make sure that the bottom of the door isn't completely making contact with the bottom of the door frame. So we're going to put it on. This is why it's important to have two people. Okay. And now, as you can see, we should be able to drill holes on the outside of the frame through these holes. And then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to open the door, and on the inside, we're going to drill holes again. We can't do this on camera because it's a bit of a tricky angle, so we'll see you in a bit. Alright, so the instructions ask you to install the door, the screws on the outside of the door first, then the screws on the inside of the door, but we are deciding to go out of order. The reason why is because our frame seems to be a bit special, and this might actually be the easier way to do it. It's not just easier, but it might be better for some people to do it this way, because these, in our opinion, are actually useless for our purposes, because the door is too tall such that there's actually not any gap. There's not a big enough gap for this spacer to be on the bottom. It's actually a good thing that we didn't install the sweep fin, because as you can see, there isn't much space for the sweep fin to go. So mentioning out of order, what we did out of order was we actually installed the top railing first. If you look up here, you can see that there's the top railing. In order to install this, we actually had to open this door a bit first. But after that, we just put a screw up here just to make sure that we had it as a reference point. When we put the door back on, we saw that it was a tight fit, which means that it was the right decision to put the top railing on first. But anyway, after we did that, we secured both the top screw and the bottom screw, and then we tried to test it out. And now that we figured out that it seems to work, we're actually going to put the rest of the screws on. So, we'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see, we have all the screws on the outside of the door. This is actually another point of no return. If you drill these holes wrong, there's no way to come back, unless there is one way to salvage it, and that is to use wood filler on the holes that you've mistakenly drilled in. But now we have the holes drilled in the right places, so we're actually gonna have Hizami test out if the door can support the weight before we put the screws on the inside. So
it can open and it can close.
Look at that. So now, if you open this up, now what we're going to do is, if you come closer, now we're going to drill holes into the side of the door jamb right here. And then we're going to fasten it with some screws. Make sure that your shimmy is actually fully in before you put the door on. Ours is a bit crooked, but that's alright. It's just meant to fill the gap. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drill the holes in the shimmy, in the door jamb. Alright. Make sure it's straight. Don't need to go too deep. We're gonna put the unpainted screws on. The ones on the outside were the painted ones. These are unpainted. I'm gonna do the bottom and the top. Actually, since these are already secured up, we probably don't have to worry about top and bottom. Oh wait, gotta make sure it's straight. And it looks like, oh, this is a bit crooked, but that's alright. Before we go on, I apologize about any lighting issues. It is getting darker and probably gonna rain soon. The next step is to install the other side railing. And for this one, they actually don't give you a shimmy that goes behind the railing, unlike this side, which does have a shimmy. Instead, they give you spacer pads. So when you put this on, you actually put these spacer pads behind it. And I'm not sure what the spacer or the spacing is for, but we're probably gonna skip that. But just to be safe, you probably don't want to skip it, but we're going to skip that. And anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to take our drill and we're going to drill in holes on each of these holes of the railing, and then we're going to fasten it. So let's get right to it. Let me get the drill. What do you think about this actually? When I don't have the spacer on, there's like not a lot of space in between, but when I do, these are considerably thick. It's like twice the thickness of the actual gap. I don't care. Let's just do it. Okay, I gotta make sure this up against the. Okay, let me just drill 2 pilot holes and then fasten it, and I'm gonna do the rest. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Alright, so we ran into a mistake. When we tried closing the door to test it, you can actually see right now that if we try to close it now, it's not fully flush with the frame. Which, after considering it for a while, I realized this is why we use these foam pads. These are actually spacers. They're not shimmies. At first I thought these go right here, but they actually go right here. I mean, right here. So now, I'm gonna put these on. I think the instructions say 6 inches from the top, 6 inches from the bottom, and directly in the middle. So we're gonna do that. Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. I can't believe I didn't catch that. I was like, that makes me wonder why don't they have the shimmy for the other side though? Okay, so we put that 6 inches from the top. That's 6 inches. I'm gonna guess that. Wait. Oh wait. If you do this, you'll notice that the top side brush is actually flush with the left side. We've been bamboozled. Okay, we're gonna continue with that. This is why you don't rush, guys. Actually, we weren't rushing, but I guess we just didn't read the directions carefully. Okay, so you can actually see that this pad is supposed to be on the inside of the door. So I should have looked at the diagram more carefully, but now that we know our mistake, we can fix it. And actually, this is fixable because the space is enough that it's not actually drilling into the previous hole, so it's not going to weaken it too much, but we can always go back and fill this with wood filling. The other good thing about this frame is I can always take it off to adjust it whenever you want, which is probably important because my dad's going to make a new shimmy for this side. There's actually an old shimmy back here, but we're going to replace that. So now I'm going to drill the holes in here. Here's the drill. Alright, so we're not going to completely finish off this side or the top side of fastening the screws on the railings because we're not quite sure if we need to make any more adjustments yet. So we're going to move on to the next step, which is actually installing the door handles. And then after that, we're going to install the closer. I didn't know that was called that. And then finally, we're going to close it, apparently. So the next step is to install the door handle. Now, if you look on the door itself, you actually see that it doesn't have any holes in it. And the reason why is because this, like I said before, this is supposed to be a reversible kit, which means that if it opens from the left side, then the latch would be on the right side. You don't want to have holes pre-drilled because then it would look kind of weird. So now we're going to install it. Alright, so we took a little break because it's nighttime right now. So there's going to be a bit of a lighting change. But now we're going to install the doorknob and latch. Now, in order to install this, we need to install them through holes in the door, which unfortunately don't come pre-drilled because it's supposed to be reversible. So they gave us a template with corresponding holes to put on your door. Now, these holes actually are different diameters, 7/16 of an inch and 5/8 of an inch. Unfortunately, they don't give you the drill bits, but hopefully you should have the drill bits on hand for when you install them. And basically what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to drill the holes through the door, and then first of all, you want to mark the center of the door, which you'll find in the instructions where the center of your door is. As you can see, we have Sharpie in the center of our door, and then we want to line up the guide with it. We want to drill the hole, and then we want to take our doorknob and then we want to put it on the holes. After this, you're going to take the latch for the inside, and then you're going to put it on this inner hole. And then on these bottom 2 holes are for the deadbolt. So that's the general guide. And then after that, what's gonna happen is you're gonna put some striker plates on the front of here, so that basically when you close the door, this knob right here gets caught on that plate, so it prevents it from opening. All right, so let's do it. Like I said, the instructions tell you where the center line of your door is based on your height. So for our purposes, we have 78 inches high. It says that the center line should be at 38.5 inches. So not exactly center, but you want to take your measuring tape and you want to measure from the top of the door. Top is important. And then to 38.5, which you can see, we actually have marked on the tape. And then if we line it up, this is kind of jagged. Can they see? It's right at the center. Yes, okay. So now we're going to put tape on the template, and then we're going to drill through the holes. Now, when you drill the holes through, don't start from here and then in one go through the other side. You want to do it once on this side, and then close your door, then do it on this side. You don't want to do all of it in one go. So the instructions actually say this. You're supposed to drill a starter hole before you actually drill the bigger hole. And this is for purposes of aligning the bigger hole. So we're going to take our first drill bit and we're going to drill a starter hole, and we're going to do that for all 5 holes. Make sure it's centered. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to take the bigger drill bits and then go through each hole. Alright, so we've carved out the holes, drilled out the holes for the latch and the deadbolt. Now, we didn't have a drill bit that was large enough, a 5/8 inch drill bit for this big hole. So instead of buying it, we decided to go with using a socket extension, putting it in here, nope, wrong way, this way, and then knocking it out with a hammer. And since we already did that, I'm not going to further damage it. But you get the meaning. Basically, you try to be creative and use whatever tools you have at your disposal in order to do things that might require you to buy something else. Anyway, what you want to do now is you want to test if you want to take this handle and it has a bar attached. You want to put it on its, on this other piece, I don't know what to call it. And make sure that it's aligned so that this nub right here goes into this cutout right here. It should line up just like that. And now what you want to do is you want to see if the bar goes through the big hole and is able to rotate without friction or without being blocked. And as you can see, it should work perfectly. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the other side of the doorknob. This one is on the outside, and this one is on the interior. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the outside one, and we're going to take these 4 pegs, and we're going to align them with these holes. First you want to take these off, but in order to make sure that we drilled the right holes, we're going to test it out here. Okay, so we have the outside on. Now we want to put the inside one on. This one's going to go with the latch facing the inside. I did not expect that to happen, though I should have expected it because it's more heavier on that side. This is going to face the inside. And now what you want to do is you want to twist the doorknob to see if it stays on. Okay. And it looks like it works pretty well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the template, and then we're going to fully screw it in. So we finished installing the latch, as you can see. Looks like it's stable enough to survive a bit of thrusting. And now we're going to install the deadbolt. And in order to install the deadbolt and the latch, you need to make sure you have machine screws from the blue bag. So make sure that the actual deadbolt part of the deadbolt is facing towards the outside. So the next thing you want to do is you're actually going to notice that when you pull on the latch, it comes out. So what you want to do is you want to take the hex tool that they provide with you, and you want to tighten it. Okay, so astute people might realize what exactly the locking mechanism is here. And the locking mechanism, as I said, is actually, I need to make sure I don't block the light, is right here. It's this little nub right here that's spring-loaded. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this L-shaped bracket and we're going to put it in front of the latch. So basically it prevents it prevents the door from coming out when you pull on it. After we have secured this plate, after all. And because it looks like this isn't enough distance in order to completely block the door, we're going to add some striker shims or striker plates under this L-shaped bracket. And basically, it is not all the ones that you need, but it's just in case. And basically, this is going to be enough to stop the door from going out. Alright, so we have 3 shimmies on it, and when we actually when we close the door, you can see that it fits. It blocks it really well. However, this is too tight of a fit because when we push the latch, we have to put a considerable amount of force to pushing it out. So that means we have to take at least 1 more shimmy out. I think 1 is going to do it. So let's do it. It's a good thing that this is adjustable, not only in width, but also in depth, so that you're able to make sure that's not too tight. So now, let's change it. I think I just blinded myself with the that light. Alright, so we tested the door and we have 1 shimmy on it, and as you can see, it works pretty well. Now, the thing we're going for is to make sure that when you close this, when you open this, it doesn't rub against the metal. So that's our preference. You can go with your own preference if you prefer. And as for the deadbolt, so it's supposed to also use another metal bracket. The thing is, you'll see that if we try to fit the metal bracket under here to align it, even at the best case scenario, we're gonna have barely enough room to screw it in. Now, to solve this, we're probably gonna have to replace the shimmy because it's a bit too small, and we also need to use some glue to make sure that it doesn't break the wall. But we're gonna skip the deadbolt for now. I should mention, like, they should have given us like a shimmy like here. This is like a plastic shimmy. Well, what does it cost? Like probably like 3 cents to manufacture. Just give us the other shimmy for the other side. So if EMCO's watching, just some advice. This is really well designed. I really like the adjustable feature, but add another shimmy. Come on. Okay, so we're gonna go to installing the hydraulic closer, which is not here actually. Wait. Alright, so when we're installing the closer, we're actually going to need to do a bit of marking in order to install it at the right height, which we'll get to later. But if you are worried about any eraser marks, just use some magic marker to get rid of those marks. So we're not going to do it here just yet. We're going to try over here. This is probably a good place. We're going to just go right over it, just wrong way. And as you can see, that permanent marker isn't so permanent. Now you just need to put a bit of elbow grease into it. And as you can see, completely gone. And you know, personally, I don't really care about the marker marks, but I know my mom will definitely make a huge freak out about it. So, looks like everything's good. Now we're gonna move on to the closer. Did I say magic marker? I meant magic eraser. Magic eraser. Although you might be able to use magic marker if it was white. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark a line 2 inches below the glass, the place where the glass panes go. So what we're going to do is we're going to first make the line for reference, and as you can see, we've already made that reference line. Now what we want to do is we want to make another mark or line 2 inches from that
reference line. So at 18, we're going to put it at 20. And now what we want to do is we want to take, this is called a hinge rail, if I remember correctly. Yes, no, this is the hinge rail. This is the, this is called the jam bracket base. And what we're going to do is we're going to drill it. We're going to fasten it so that the center of these holes lines up with the center of this line. And for reference, here's what the drawing looks like. That line lines up with the center of these holes. So you want to take the screws from the green bag, which is, you know, I'm colorblind, but hopefully this is the green bag. Yes, this is the green bag. And we're going to take the screws from it and we're going to fasten it on, which I'll do off camera. When you put the base on, you want to make sure that this nub right here is sticking out towards the interior, and the open side is facing out towards the exterior. And then you want to screw in these 2-inch long screws into the first 2 holes. Now before you screw in the third hole, you need to take the bracket arm and you need to make sure that it's positioned this way. This arm is on the interior side, and you want to take this little hook and you want to finagle it under, or angle it under that nub. You see what I mean? And then it should be able to pivot on it. Then what you want to do is you want to close the arm, and then finally take your third screw and fasten it in. Yes. Okay. Okay, so now we have this in. It's really secure. And now what we want to do is we want to take our closer, and we're going to position it so that this side is within this little arm sticking out. So installing the closer is very peculiar. You have to make sure that you have the exact correct alignment, so that, I mean, they give you a little play, but you got to make sure that's exact, or else you're gonna have not a door jam as in the side of the door, but your door is gonna jam. You guys catch my drift? Okay, but anyway, what we're gonna do is we're going to, first you guys might be like, where the heck are we? What I did was I took the door closer and I put a temporary screw through this side of the door closer, and then I looped it through the arm. You also want to make sure you have this lock right here. I'll explain about that a bit more later. I'm going to put this temporary screw here, and this allows it to swivel around. This also allows you to test the hydraulics. Oh, I should also mention, this thing right here allows you to lock the hydraulics. You see? I'm not putting any force on it, it's just locked. But anyway, when you have that out of the way, now we can see that if you put another temporary screw here, you're able to angle where you put this bracket. Now, here's the strange thing about these instructions. You actually put the closer on and then the bracket. And my dad says that it's probably better to install the bracket first and then put the closer on. But in order to install the closer, you want to make sure that the door itself is closed. Then you want to angle this bracket right here, this L-shaped bracket, so that it lies flat. And make sure that this is parallel to this pin. So then you want to mark the place where you want to drill in your screws. So we have those 2 marker dots right there. They're not exactly perfect, but we can change them. And then what you want to do is you want to take these 5/8 inch screws, and then you want to drill them in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out, because, or you can also, you can do it while this is in. And now what you want to do is you want to take these self-driving screws and you want to tighten this arm. Okay, I'm going to take one here. Gotta make sure it's straight. They also mentioned in the instructions that you might want to put this orange piece at the front of the hydraulics,
I mean, if you want to, you can do that. I don't think we're going to do that. And if you do want to put this on after you've already drilled these holes, this is, of course, adjustable, which means that you should be able to do that. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to take these fasteners. We want a long one and a short one. The short one goes on the side of the bracket. Okay. It doesn't matter which order you do this in. Alright, so we've installed the closer. Now, in order to install, we need to use these pins, like I said. And they actually come out like really easily. Right. This one right here is a better example. This one just slides out. But actually, don't fear, because the closure isn't exclusive to the door. You can take pretty much any closer, like one that's like $6 and then install it yourself. So this one, you don't have to use this one. We're probably going to swap it out anyway. And now, let's see how well it works as a closer. Okay. First, okay, so now let's do the full one. Whoa, that was too fast. And they also have the ability to adjust how fast it closes. Where's the screwdriver? So, looking at this diagram, there's a knob on the front of this. Let me see if you can see it. There's a knob on the front of this that if you turn it, it allows you to control how fast or slow that the door closes. So to the right is slower. Okay, that looks a bit slower. Alright, so now your door is installed. There's a few housekeeping things that I need to do here. First thing is that we need to make sure that we put screws on the bottom here. As you see, we've already put them on. You can do this at any point during the installation. And make sure you put the sweep on the bottom. And you can see we've already had it somewhat in. And in order to put it, there is a sort of a track that you see that this has a specific like T-shape. It goes into a T-shaped hole or track. So now we're going to slide it in. And then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to cut it. And we've already had it cut. And you're also supposed to crimp at each end, but I think we're just going to keep it like this because it doesn't matter to us. Another thing is that you need to make sure that all the screws are on each side of the frame. I did mention earlier that we wanted to make sure that we didn't put all the screws on this side of the edge because we weren't sure how much we needed to adjust it, so we put screws on it. Same with the top side. I should mention, there's also this piece that goes on the top of the top edge, but because our door frame is really uniquely shaped, it doesn't fit the way it's supposed to. So we skipped this step. If you have that kind of door frame, you can always refer to instructions to install it. It's pretty easy. And the last thing you need to do is install the glass piece. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's close this. See, this is what the locking mechanism does. And you also want to make sure that you test the hydraulics after you install it because the door is going to be a bit heavier. The first thing you want to do is install the net or the screen. So if I remember correctly, you install this from the bottom. You want to angle it. And then you want to angle this upwards. Now that I think about it, I should have did this the other way, but that's alright. Okay, so like I said, make sure you bend it from the middle in order to get it the clearance that needs to be secured. And finally, make sure that the pins are also secured. Okay, and now we have our screen installed. Now we're going to install our windows or our glass panes. Alright, so I'm not sure what the difference between these two panes are, but this came installed with this in the middle, so we're going to install this first. So, like I said, you want to slide it in at an angle, slide it up, and then the last step is to pull these in. And now, you can see that it's able to lock into specific places on here. You can see from these notches where they're supposed to lock in. So I think I'm gonna put this at the bottom, just in case. Or we can just put it at the bottom actually. And now we're going to install the second one. Make sure that the retractable sides are facing the inside, and that they're at the bottom. So now we're going to do that again. So the difference between these two, it appears that this one is wider, so you actually can't get these confused. Okay. And easy does it. Of course, you want to make sure that when you do retract these, that they can be very heavy. You don't want to make, they can go down really fast, so just make sure you're careful with that. And with that being said and done, you have your door installed. Wow. Oh, also you guys might be wondering what this chain is for. We have this chain here. It doesn't come with the door actually. This is for preventing it from going out too far. So if we have this attached to the door, when we push it out, this is supposed to pull it back in. Or not let it go too far. Alright, so I'm Aiman, and today I showed you how to install this EMCO storm and screen door from start to finish, including the mounting, installing the latch, and installing the closing mechanism. Alright, so a few things before I fully close off. One thing is that you should always make sure you erase all of your markers or all of your markings with magic eraser or whiteout or something similar. And also another thing is, during the process we actually installed the doorknob the wrong way. When we first installed it, we installed it with this handle facing downwards. It's actually supposed to be like this. It's actually easy to change this. All you have to do is take off the other side, change the orientation, and then put the other side back on. You also have to make sure that you tighten the set screw that's on the outside of the doorknob. The set screw requires a really small hex screwdriver that they package with it. So you should be able to find it, and I'll leave it to you. But I'm Aiman, and thanks for watching. Please like and comment, subscribe, and look at other videos on EyeOnAiman, especially the assembly videos and the DIY videos, because we have a ton of those on our channel, and they're really fun to do. One in particular you should check out is this one that we did on assembling a cabinet. That was fun. So go check that out, and I'll see you there. But for now, I'm Aiman, this is Burton, and signing out. Peace.